we have our first get with the Rollin' Hunt. As we go over all these lists today, just remember that I have several different detachments we're going to go over, which is going to be the fun part. But as for our boy Thomas Greer, he actually reached out. He gave me some notes. So that was really exciting because this is your fault, Thomas. He did not put his faction in BCP. Let me pull up the window, guys, because I'd slack. Right here, it doesn't say he was playing the Hunt, but when you click it, it comes up. So he missed my my observations. So remember, if you're a greenskin or you know a greenskin that does well at an event, tell them, reach out to me. I'll interact with you and we can get some notes out there and let your stuff be heard. He also got some cool pictures. So that being said, let's go over this The Hunt Rollin' Death list, which ended up winning, going 5-0. Very exciting to see. We have Gazgul Thraka with a Pain Boy with 20 boys. We have a Beast Boss with Proper Killy and 20 Beast Snagga Boys. Now that's pretty awesome. Beast Snagga Boys really, really lost a lot of attention, and people generally weren't taking the Beast Snagga Boys that often anymore because they were like, well, boys are just so cheap. And there was always a lot of, I wouldn't say contention, but discussion about like, well, what about 20 Snaggas, right? And I was one of the people that would tell guys all the time, trust me, 20 Beast Snaggas is freaking awesome. And of course, there's other really great players like Stephen Paprine, or of course, now we see Thomas here, that take me up on that. And 20 Beast Snagga Boys in the Hunt specifically. There's, of course, kind of you can get them away with it and more Horde and such, but in the Hunt specifically, because of the ability to advance in charges, the stacking of lethals, the re-rolling critical sustains, the buffs you get from the kill rigs, the buffs to transports from Rollin' Death, 20 Snaggas really goes a long way in a different kind of punchy next to gas unit, right? Like I always tell everybody, when you're playing with 20 boys, generally a good idea to at least consider playing with another 20-man unit of something, whether it's another 20-man boys or Snaggas or Zagra, for example, right? Because the saturation of the OC, the volume, everything like that comes into play. But when it's this Beast Boss unit with Proper Killy, you have something that's really, really dangerous when it's standing right next to Gaz's unit in the Hunt, where you can still pop a critical 5+ strat on it on its prey target, so you can get these guys up to 2 AP. You can start stacking strength on them from kill rigs and of course the WAAAGH itself. So your Snagger boys get up to strength 7 infantry, critical 5+ lethal and sustain if they're within Makari's range. So it stacks super, super well. This has been an old combination, literally multiple years old if you watch old Snagga videos. So we have and this third attached unit, which surprisingly was Mazrog and 4 Pig. So I was a bit surprised about that. Just because when we've been seeing Maz, he's actually running by himself, and he's not generally always leading a unit because he brings tough, that his toughness gets a little diminished. He may be some sort slower in some ways, some arguments here and there. His buff isn't that good compared to something like a Beast Boss on Squigosaur, which can do an heroic for less. You get +1 to the charge. So there's different benefits to why you would take either or. But he specifically said because he's playing Purge, he just wanted to get stuck in and just crump more stuff, and he wanted more stuff to kill bigger, demons or vehicles. He wanted to be able to threaten those units, and Maz in this detachment with additional AP, he can actually act as a piece like that, and along with the squigs as well that help him kind of play that role. Of course, he also used it for picking him up, putting him into reserves, sometimes starting to game reserves and stuff like that. Another 2 units we see here are Boss Snikra and WAAAGH Gutsmag. So he said he really, really liked WAAAGH being on this list. Just another piece that can interact either outside of the WAAAGH or really, really just push up the field during the WAAAGH. Of course, he doesn't get any of like the buffs, that are a part of it, but he still really, really liked it. He said in some games he was the first to get stuck in. Sometimes he was a zoning piece. And just having a little bit of fire on his own. He just really acts independently and then also stacks with all the other tough units that are on this list, from the rigs to the squigs to the gas to the pigs, right? So he was just really versatile, and he said he just loved them in this list, and it worked well. And last thing is that he had a 10-man unit of Beast Snagga Boys, no leader, no character. They were just straight naked up on the field. When I call them naked, I mean they don't have like a leader leading them. Obviously they're still wearing pants. So he he just said that there was just a cheap trading unit. Sometimes it would just stand in places. He was playing Purge, of course. He said he played Purge because standing in places is boring. Yet he was still wise enough to know sometimes you need some good OC. Sometimes you need some guys to run around and get into fights. You can throw them into rigs, and because they don't have the character, they're not as damaging when if the rig gets popped and killed and such. So he would use it to run up the game early in the field early with the pigs and the rigs. So he has 2 unit of Gretchen because he's obviously screening his backfield and screening the enemy can't get behind him when you play this kind of aggressive forward momentum game, which is how he played it. Hyper aggressive. Some of the games he ended up in his opponent's deployment zone. Excuse my English. So yeah, double Gretchen. He has a hunter rig and then double kill rig. So the hunter rig is obviously so you can put the 20 snaggers and the 20 snaggers in the beast boss. I personally in the past have played this also as a variation if you want, where I've taken a battle wagon and gas through with mega knobs. So then you have 2 of these really fast elite bricks that can run around the field, and the enemy's like, oh my gosh, which one do I pop? If I pop this one, the other one can kind of hump on me. So there's that variation too, but I like not paying for the wagon and just going for the boys with the new hidden, just because you want more stuff. So I'm on and off about the rig. It's interesting to see here he chose not to bring about the wagon, and he just chose to bring all rig. So 2 kill rigs, which is funny. Sometimes I'm like, man, I want 3 kill rigs always because their buffs are so cool and so nice. And how he played them in this game was he would bring them off the field sometimes as well, and then throw them into rapid ingress. Sometimes he would auto advance them. They're always allowed to auto advance 6 because rolling death. So then in this detachment, you can also make them choose a prey target, advance and charge outside of the wall, and then you're running up the field, advance and charging outside of the wall, automatically moving 6, or you're moving 16. Maybe you have a boy unit inside with you. You're flipping objectives, which happen. We'll talk more about in his games. But yeah, he had those, and then last but not least, he had another unit of pig, 4 pigs in there. One of the other notes he made that I just wanted to say, maybe before I found out that I thought was a good lesson, which he said the hunt enables the game early for pigs and rigs so they can get into fights, they can choose interactions, and that allows you to line up the wall on your timing. So on the perfect timing, he said, really, but on your timing, meaning when you can actually get the most value out of it. A lot of the time we use it as a desperate way to cover distance and just touch our enemy. Sometimes we use it to hold up an invul and just clear screens. In this way, the rigs are tough enough, the pigs are tough enough that they can choose fights with certain buffs, win the purge matchup, be difficult to kill and respond. They're pretty cheap for their cost. And then when the enemy has invested enough into killing these skirmishing type units, then you come in with the 3 big attached unit or stuff like that can come in and actually delete the enemy itself. So he said that allows the hunt itself allows for you to choose these interactions early and then time up the perfect wall at the right moment, which is why Gaz is here, right? He's a force multiplier in the fact that he gives out lethal to all these units that want lethal, as well as he himself is a mid-table bully that can actually delete anything that runs into the mid-table generally, right? Of course, if he doesn't have sustain here, so I guess not anything, but he's very, very threatening to anything in 40k that walks to the mid-table, as well as when you have a beast boss with 20 snaggers on the side as well that can fall back and do stuff, and it's freaking awesome. So this is great. Love the list. It was very exciting to see, and I was really excited to see his path to victory and get some notes from him. He scored pretty well. Before we jump back into the video, shout out to Monument Hobbies and their Pro Acryl paints. If you're an orc player, you already know the pain of painting mobs of models, vehicles, bikers, walkers, too many lads at once. And that's why I like Pro Acryl. The paint is high quality, easy to work with, and comes with properly thin paint right out the bottle, which means less time fighting with your paints and more time getting your wall on the table. So whether you're a new orc player and joining the Great Wall, or you're trying to finish another 20 gets before your event, and check out Pro Acryl paints from Monument Hobbies using my affiliate link in the description. It helps support the channel and no extra cost to you, because the faster you paint, the faster you wall. So number 1, didn't put that he was a green skin, so shame on you. Always represent the Great Wall. Just kidding, but yeah, thanks for reaching out. Let's see his games though. Of course, he gave me some notes. I might pull up some of those pictures if I don't get lost in the sauce. So we have Necrons, Canoptic with a taken hold. Good old-fashioned crons. So we have a Necromancer alongside a unit of Wraiths, another Technomancer alongside another Wraith, double Catans. One's a Void Dragon and the other is the Nightbringer. along with a Luminor Suzeris, so like an infantry version of Maz in some ways. Double Canoptic Reanimators, small unit of Swarms, 1 unit of Crypto Thralls, 2 units of Ophidian Destroyers, and a Tomb Blade. So he did have notes about this, which he just usually does track when I play this kind of game, and he pulled it off very well with his idea. He said pretty much with this game one, he was more worried about the bricks than anything and making sure that he didn't bounce off them. But all in all, one thing to always remember is there's one super hard counter in 40k2 Catans, and it's called the Beastnagger Boys. So the Beastnagger Boys in the hunt, being able to snap a lethal critical 5+ sustain onto a Catan unit with their actual additional +1 damage beast boss in there, means that he's still getting flat 2 damage dev wounds off on them. They're spamming volume of damage 1. Every 5+ and 6 is actually wounding them. So the trick is, of course, to pick that up and fish for more 5s and 6s. That way you just do a ton of wounds right off the bat, and then you just go for the wounding them on 5s after that. So that's what he was really making sure was the most important thing. And then also being able to get Gaz into some wraiths if he was possible. So that being how it ended up happening here, he said the game on top of 2, once WAAAGH made it into a fight, he also had sent the kill rig up into some wraiths to kind of hold them in place, because the wraiths aren't really good at killing them in response. Wraiths are good at killing other infantry, which is kind of surprising sometimes because they're 2 damage, you don't catch you off guard. But in this way, he's like, no, I'm going to make sure that my rig handles the wraiths to hold them in place, and then the Void Dragon's going to respond with the Rapid Ingress, which was his actual kind of bait here, where he was hoping the enemy would come for the rig. So when the enemy ran in to kill the rig, he set it up for a game 3 WAAAGH, and that allowed him to WAAAGH and let Gaz run into a unit of wraiths, and then let his dudes come and actually pick up one of the Catans. So he said he WAAGhed turn 3, and then that pretty much just murked the game. I'll show you the pictures of his army and some of the games at the end, just so it's nice and concise all at once, because he has a really nice army. And he did a lot of cool kit bashes. So all in all, what he was saying is that he utilized the transport capability of the units to get into fights, to hold units in place, while he chose interactions with his early ability to advance and charge, to pick off kind of some of the weaker units, and to get investment from his actually efficient combat units like the Catans or the Wraiths to kind of start moving up the field. And once they did, it allowed him to set up that turn 3 WAAAGH. This is what we're trying to stress here when you're watching the video. Regardless of what version of the hunt you're playing, always make sure you set up those layers of, I can go out, pick fights, win the fights. When the enemy does respond, then I postponed to a degree, or set up the game perfectly for that turn 3 WAAAGH, or bottom of turn 2 WAAAGH if I'm going, depending on the turn order. Why that's important is for primary and for the tempo of the game. If I can hold my WAAAGH till turn 3 and then come in and smash into you with my strongest assets while I have a 5-up invuln, it's going to be hard for you to dig that stuff out, especially when it's stuff with a lot of OC. So he had perfect counters and ways to smash these units up, and it set it up for a 100-point win there. Great job. Love cracking up some Necrons. And then we move into his second game. Let me make sure I get rid of some of these, just because, I'll right away get lost in the sauce. So then he goes into the Tau Empire, which is the Kroot hunting pack detachment, mostly big play Kroot hordes. I do got pictures. I'll show you. It looks pretty cool. So again, here's his unit 1. We have some Kroot carnivores, a big 20 brick, another 20 brick, a third 20 brick, double individual ethereals, triple Kroot lone spearmen, 1 twin lance unit. Or was it just 1 twin lance? It's just 1 twin lance. Okay. Kroot carnivores, 20-man brick again. So it's 4 big bricks so far. Followed by 3 5-man unit of Kroot hounds. And then 2 big bricks of the 6 rampagers. And then a 3-man unit of rampagers. Followed by double piranhas and a vespid. So there's definitely a lot of stuff going on here. People have seen these guys are quick to run up the field. Ton of OC. Play for bodies. The little bit of Tau units can actually lay down the firepower to keep respect on the enemy's big units. And then the rampagers come in, do mortals, decent fights. They're pretty relatively fast. And then you're bringing back these kind of fleshed units. So right away, his notes were focused about OC, right? He said in this game, he kept Maz on the table because he knew there was going to be a lot of, primary games going on here. Remember, Maz is attached to the pigs. He said he did also mess up early, which happened to me recently, where he had actually the enemy had gone first, but he positioned Maz a little too aggressively. In my case, I just went aggressive with Maz. I got overwatched. In his case, the opponent was able to scout a 3-man gorillas, run up, do mortal wounds on the charge, and throw grenades that one-tapped him. So right off the bat in this game, he lost WAAAGH at the top of his opponent's turn 1. Everybody's had games like that, but you got to nose down. You got to stick into it. Don't just give up on the game, which he didn't. He said he left, like I said, so at this point, he said, well, because the enemy did that and he ran up with the gorillas and the hounds, it allowed him to double consecrate ground on turn 1. And he said he wasn't going to be able to really stop his early game recon, which is kind of the thing that everybody has kind of come to the consensus of recon versus something like Purge, is the opponent can do it kind of early, but if they do it for too many turns too early, they'll run out of assets. So let's see if that happens here. He said in this case, he ended up wanting turn 2. So he was saying there isn't anything that he couldn't use his prey target into, and he said in this detachment it really shined because of just the different stacking of buffs that he was able to set off here, which we'll talk about. He said one off that he had a 20-man unit of Crew Hounds on the central objective, and he just allowed him to take a 10-man unit of Snaggers out and his rig to go right after it. The enemy didn't reactive, and from the kill rig, but he also left his Snaggers 8 inches away intentionally to stop the reactive move. But he had the boarding ramp buffs from that kill rig, so actually was a +1 to that charge. And when you choose the target, you get to reroll. So he stopped the reactive, took the buff from the +1 from the disembarking from the rig, and then took the I'm gonna just reroll this. So he was just banking on getting an 8 +1. So that was sweet. Well, 7 +1, but you know what I mean. So Snaggers ran in, cleared house. He said, of course, the rig as well, being able to do cleave was pretty crazy. The +1 strength from the rig and the critical 5+ though from the Snaggers made it so he just, because remember those guys, I'm pretty sure are those Crew Hounds T3. I'm pretty sure Crew. Let me know, guys. I'll double check. Crew Carnivores. Pretty sure Crew Carnivores are T3. So that means you're winning them on 2. So cleared straight through them. And he said he was able to kill that entire unit and consolidate onto his home on turn 2 because he made that big old charge after that enemy had baited him because he had rolled a 10 with that attempt +1. So he got an 11, got the pile in 3, and then consolidate 3 after deleting that big unit. Nasty. So he said, so even though the enemy was a good player, he just felt like his reach was crazy when he was pulled that off. He ended up lining up for a turn 3 WAAAGH, where again, he sent in a rig into a 20-man unit with cleave, and he said it was an insanely busted number of attacks he got off there. By turn 3, he had pretty much tabled his opponent, like frontline units, most of his actually punching units. And when the enemy responded on turn 3, he couldn't kill Gaz, and the 20-man units had been sitting on objectives. So like I've said many times, and I said when we started this, that if you can postpone that WAAAGH for turn 3, but still pick up all these different units that would do chippy type damage to boys, Snaggers. Oh, okay, I'll kill 5 points with this unit, 5 boys with this unit. I'll throw some mortals, I'll charge, or grenade, whatever. You lose those other additional activations, and enemies really, really struggle with the pure volume on boys while they have fill no pains. And keep in mind, Beast Snagger boy unit with a strat can fall back and charge. So that means if they have to immediately say, do I prioritize killing Gaz right now when he's really, really tough at his toughest? Or they go for these 20 Snagger boys over here, which if I don't kill them, they'll be able to fall back and charge and hit me again. Or do I leave Gaz there where he's just going to blend through whatever's in front of him? So it's actually a lot of pressure on the opponent to choose what they're going after once you time up that turn 4 WAAAGH. Okay, so then we go into his third game. I'll try to go a little faster because I think I'm preaching. All right, so we go into his third game, which was into the Chaos Demons, Scintillating Legion. He had Bellow Core, triple birdies, quadruple birdies. So he had 3 Lords of Changes and the Kairos. So the big 5, excuse me. Plague Bears, double Flamers, and a Screamer. That's all he had. And I think this opponent was playing Purge as well. So in this one, he said our friend here, Thomas, went first, and he had more trash. So he didn't really want to give up a bunch of little unit kills, but he did want to draw out his opponent's big birds right away. Therefore, he took Gaz's unit, put him behind Dents, and made sure that he was able to go to ground. But that forced the enemy to say, well, I'm just going to go for that. So he threw up Kairos and a Lord of Change within 12 to attack Gaz's unit early. But one boy survived. Fantastic. Pain Boy can bring him back. Gaz is still there. You got all your buffs. Time to walk. So he said the enemy looked like he realized he made a huge mistake at that point. He said he pulled up an empty rig from reserve at the bottom of turn 1. So keep in mind, Thomas is saying he went first. His opponent went second. At the bottom of turn 1, at the end of his opponent's fight phase, he used 1 CP to pick up an empty kill rig. It's really, really fun when you get that off and you can find a good spot to put on the field. And when the enemy's so elite, there's no way he's really screening like that, which means it can come up in different spots. Therefore, he ended up going for a top of turn 2 WAAAGH. The Snagga boys ran up. They one-tapped the Fate Weaver with the 5+ lethal sustain criticals with the full rerolls, and Gaz with the unit of pigs and a rig all made their charges and went into another Lord of Change. He sent the rig down the middle, which moved at least 10 inches, and ran into Be'lakor to hold him in place. Both of the additional birds that he had fought died, and Be'lakor was down to 3 wounds. The birds exploded as well, but he still was able to keep momentum. The enemy, again, at this point, has to now respond to Gaz and Snaggas when they're optimized on top of the rigs and the pigs, which are also optimized. Because something that I think we forget is that during the WAAAGH, all of these rigs and pigs are getting additional attacks also on their extra attack, right, profile. That's new change this edition also on top of the cleave. So they're getting bunch. Now in this case, there's nothing to cleave, but against the Kroot there was. So at that point, he said the enemy couldn't do anything. He rapid ingress to Maz to kill another Lord of Change, and the opponent was almost tabled. And that's pretty much how that game went for a big 100-point win. Yeah, my boy said, first time watching you ramble live. Yeah, dude. We do everything live. Everything. But that's how high level we are. All right. So I don't know if that's really high level. I mean, we still feel better. All right. So then we go to round 4. Bam. So now we go to round 4, which he goes into Genestealer. This one was pretty quick, to be honest. As you can imagine, if this guy's this aggressive and this fast, it's going to be a problem for Genestealers. No shame on them. So we have Patriarch and a big brick of Pierce Strains, Abominant with the Biophages, and then a big old Aberrant. Oh, those double characters. And then another Abominant with a Biophage and a big old brick of Aberrants. Benefactus, the Neophyte Hydra brick. 1, 2, 3, 4 small units of the hybrid, a Goliath truck, double Ridge Runners, and a 5-man unit of Genestealers. So how he went here is he said it was taking hold. He had really poor shooting, so I could stage my rigs really aggressive and just shielded Gaz's unit from the big unit of Genestealers. So this big unit of Genestealers with a Patriarch, they can come up early, turn 1, run right into you, completely disintegrate Gaz or his unit with a bunch of attacks. Then if that isn't such like that, so definitely don't let them run into you. But that is pretty much that, and the Abominants are like the biggest threat with Genestealers usually nowadays. He said the opponent went second and didn't even really try to respond to him, right? Like didn't fully push into him. It looked like the opponent wasn't sure what to do to interact with it. So he sent his pigs into a 5-man unit of Stealers, and he had a 10-year unit of Genestealers that had intervened into the pig. And he measured to see if the unit of the rig could have overrun to try to kill that unit, and he rolled his intervention as a 5, which made it only a 5 that really helped him to see if he could actually get that overrun off. So he made his prey target 5+ critical down and killed the Patriarch unit and killed the trash down as objective with the bottom of turn 1 with WAAAGH. And then a bunch of little 10-man Snaggas were running around that were just holding objectives as well. The rig was really aggressive as placed, and eventually the Snaggas were able to jump out of it and jump into the deployment zone and start charging units in the deployment zone and come down with the Great Wall. So how that was working out was the enemy didn't do anything to them after turn 1. So then our boy Thomas reacted by throwing pigs at him. Once the pigs were attacked, this guy decided to heroic with this unit. And when this unit heroic, they rolled a poor charge, which allowed for another unit to overrun into it, pop critical 5+, and pick it up outside of the turn that it wanted to get killed, which really set the enemy back. It responded with these big units of Abominants, but at that point, he was able to call the wall and just overrun him in his deployment zone. So kind of one-sided, but that's kind of how you have to play GSC, because GSC want to play 40K similar to Orcs, where it's like just a tempo, very fast, get the points, take up all the space, and then hope that they don't run out of steam before you. So just run on them and just kind of shove your boot down their throat. And then he goes into game 5. And game 5 seems like it was his most fun and also quite challenging, even though the score doesn't reflect that. But it's okay. Oh, I clicked him again. I do not want to see your list again. Sorry, friend. So he went into Salamanders, which is Librarius Conclave with Orbital Assault Force. So we have Adrax Agatone with the Blade Guard Veteran Squad. I think he gives them like +1 to wound, and they can like reroll wounds or something. This is like their best melee units on every single list they have nowadays. And I think not just nowadays, but like always. Captain with a jump pack and 5 intercessors, a Librarius with Hellblasters and Tempora Corridor. So this, like, think this is, you can reroll the wound, and it allows you to dev wound on 5s or 6s into oh no, it's not Hellblasters. Hellblasters is something else. I was thinking about the Stern Guard. So Hellblasters means I think they just get more shots off it. Okay, sorry. The Librarian Squad. Oh yeah, this is the one where you get critical 5+ dev wounds from this one, and then you get to reroll it because the Stern Guard. So able to really pop kill rigs, but then it's like a really big brick that has to move, and then have to stack the right buffs. Definitely really strong though, very killy. Lieutenant with combi weapon, and then Vulcan. He's stand on his own. He'll like look at a unit. I think he looks at a unit, gives it +1 to wound or reroll, something like that. I haven't played Salamanders in like a couple months, so forgive me. We have intercessors, ballistas dreadnought, eradicator, 1 Land Raider Redeemer, some scouts, and then a Storm Strike Speeder. Land Raider's nasty, of course, nasty Overwatch, nasty Salamander buffs from that, and then the strength as well. So rarely threatening, and that's the one thing that he said as well. So in his notes, he was saying he thinks it's one of the strongest lists of Safe Brains out there. He said it was search and destroy deployment, which helped him a lot. His Land Redeemer was the scariest piece on the board, but it was really obvious based off deployment where it was going to go, and he had put his only combat unit inside of it. So he just lined up his 20 back unit of Snagas with his Beast Boss unit and sent them in the same lane and just let them stand out and wait by each other. He left his Stern Guard off the table, and his jump pack can jump around on the table. Okay, is that what they do in that one? All right, it's been a while. He said they pretty much played cat and mouse for a while. He went second. Because it was taking hold, the enemy went up and put his combi lieutenant on the middle. And in this place, he was like, well, I'm just going to go for that guy. So again, he pulled a similar shenanigan where he pulled the rig up that had 10 dudes. He pulled them up, it looked like, and then they ingressed. He sent another rig after that lieutenant. Because he didn't want to send the pigs in, right? So he knew he had to go after this combi lieutenant. Therefore, he goes, okay, I'm not going to send the pigs right now. He didn't let him do the reactive because he stayed outside of 9, and then he just rolled for the prey target, and then he just slimed him with the critical 5+, destroyed the lieutenant. So that's very bold, right? Very bold to say, I'm going to stand outside of 9 and just go for this attempt with a rig. So sometimes, guys, you just got to play those high-risk plays to really just disrupt the enemy's primary in these kind of games, which are going to really come down to both you getting good scores. He said, I had WAAAGH come down and zone out his Hellblasters, right? That's awesome. Because his units want to come off the battlefield edge because they're such a big brick, shoot the heck out of you. Therefore, you can use jump. I've talked about this before. You can use shock jump dragsta to disrupt enemies' reserve spots. So if you play against someone who plays this kind of style, like a Raven Guard style thing or whatever, where they like to bring units off the field and put them back on, if you can disrupt that by, I have a really fast Death Killer Ward Strike. I have WAAAGH. I have a shock jump dragsta. Units that can jump around the field can fill up those deep striking locations. Therefore, the enemy responded and still had to deep strike, so he deep strike next to WAAAGH with some eradicators. But he didn't kill him. He put 9 damage on WAAAGH, keeping him alive. Big deal. Dice tell stories. He ended up destroying the kill rig, but this kill rig did not blow up, which was great. He towed into the middle objective, and the enemy went for the another rig instead. But in this case, he still didn't wah at the bottom of turn 2 because he knew that Gaz wasn't going to make a good contact into anything. And his big brick of Snagas was still waiting for the Redeemer to come forward. Therefore, instead, he was using rigs to get into fights, like the one that he had rapid ingressed, and he had used a unit of 4 pigs and the basic unit of Snagga Boys to get into fights, like to jump into the intercessors and destroy them with 5+ critical sustain as prey targets. And then he also got into fights with Vulcan's list near the enemy's natural expansion that he scouted into. Ultimately, what ended up happening is that on turn 3, he called his wall. He rapid ingressed Maz and the pigs in on that turn as well. He ended up able to get Gaz to run right in the middle and destroy Vulcan's big brick of Blade Guard unit. He was just running away with score at this point. WAAAGH locked down the Redeemer for that one turn. And once Adrax failed his charge, the game was pretty much set. So the score blew him away at that point. He was kind of towing him out, not letting the enemy choose the fights and him picking the first fights and winning them. So he would go out, get something, purge it, enemy would respond to destroy it. He would take another unit that didn't require a leader. So he was playing with these, imagine just about most of the units are about 150 points. If you're playing with a pig, a rig, some basic Snagga Boys, he's playing with all these kind of cheaper yet monstrous units for those point values to, okay, I'm going to very quickly get into a fight over there, destroy you, wait for you to respond, then destroy you again. Okay, now you're fully committed. Call my wand to you with my super kill units, and when you can't dig me out, I keep cracking back on you. So 95. The other you see opponent down here got 78. So great game there. Let's see if I can, look at my face for a second. Show some of the pictures just because I did like some of his pictures of some of his games, and I think it'd be kind of fun, even though, man, this will be a long stream, huh? So let's see, put it up for the gets who are here. We're gonna go fast-ish. So here's his rigs. This was versus game 1 versus the Necrons. Very kit bashed, as you can see, like some AOS stuff going on here. Also, great job at that event for that terrain with the Tyranid stuff, right? So really cool kill rigs that he has. It's always really encouraging to see, people who take the game serious, yet also take the hobbying aspect and the fun part of the game serious as well. So everybody should kind of be that way. Enjoy the game. You're there for a good time. The hobby's more than just GW nerfing people and stuff. Look at that. That's pretty awesome. That AOS version of it. Don't worry, I still have his other game. So that was just his Necron game. Here's the Kroot game. If you send me pictures, guys, I'll show this because I like this. That is his Kroot game. Here's, you can see them running up here, his pigs, his WAAAGH. Here's his Maz on the field this time. It seemed like he put Maz on reserves a lot, and he was picking up his rigs a lot. Maybe that was just a matchup thing, because clearly in this game he didn't do it. Right, here's the rig that was running up. Look how forward this rig is already on the enemy deployment, like we were talking about. And then the snaggers that are also getting in fights. Big breaks of Kroot that are pushing up on Maz and his unit. That's pretty fun to see. And then more of the end game where you can see he's on his opponent's side of the battlefield. Just cleave through all of those little Kroot hordes that are standing in his way. This was into his Demons matchup. It was into his Demon matchups. Boom. Big greater demons all over the place. This was when he said he put gas up there and made sure that the big birds can come up to get him. When the enemy came up to get him, then he was able to respond with big bricks of dudes and the pigs and start dismantling them. So just pigs swarming the field, more guys jumping out of rigs. Freaking dude. Kill rigs for 145. Yeah, this is a great face-off. Are like real legit monsters finally. It's really awesome to see, and they play the game really well. Shout out to Happy Crumper. When me and him did our little debate about kill rigs and such, you could check that on his channel. So I'm a big rig advocate, and I know he's come around to them. So great to see. I'm glad to see pigs really do well, because we're aware of all these other armies, right, that are doing well, like the Green Tide and such. But not a lot of people are paying attention to the Hunt, even though I know a lot of us have a ton of the Hunt units in our collections. We have a lot of beast snaggers because last edition GW was just giving them to us essentially. See, here's search and destroy. Do the rig forward right away. WAAAGH is right there. Here comes enemy in the Salamander. Awesome game right here. That's an interesting Salamander build though, right? What is that, like a camo? Whatever, showing off too much. All right, so with that being said, great job, Thomas. Great job to the Hunt.
If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!